The number of people alive now. People who just live. They go to work, walk, hang out. Their number exceeds the sum of those who have died over the past few hundred years. Just think about it. And with the development of civilization, the appearance of various drugs, and a smaller number of believers, the number of people committing sins has increased rapidly. Do you know what that means, Bahamurk? The Lord of Hell Lucifer sat on the throne. It was the devil himself. Although if you remove his horns and long ears, he would pass for an ordinary office worker. The eternal prison before the dead sinners becomes cramped, Bahamurk. The supreme demon was sitting in front of Lucifer, kneeling. This creature was undead, since its body was not covered with skin. It was the skeleton of a man with the head of a ram. The supreme demon Bahamurk. I mean, hell is getting tight. Behind the throne of the Lord of Hell, the underworld itself flaunted. Hundreds of thousands of people were serving sentences for their sins, driven by the devils of the overseers. My faithful servant. With these words, Lucifer handed the demon something that looked like a key. I, the Lord of Hell Lucifer, command you. Go and create a new hell. The devil handed the key to his servant, and he reached out to accept it. A few moments later, Bahamurk returned to his castle. It was a huge unnatural structure, somewhat reminiscent of the Elfi, but more gloomy and sinister. After his return, Bahamurk was greeted by his servants. Mister. What is the outcome? Without waiting for much questioning, the demon raised the key in his hand and allowed everyone to look at him. Instantly, word spread around the room. This? Is it really the key of the Lord of Hell? All the demons of the servant rejoiced. You did it, sir. Congratulations on your position as the Lord of the new hell. The demoness of the middle class and actor congratulated her master and politely bowed. Naturally. I was Lucifer's servant and wiped his ass for almost 500 years. Bahamurk was pleased. Finally, his wish came true. Meanwhile, the demoness continued. I'm sorry for the question. But have you already thought about what the new hell will be like? Demons always lack imagination. And I'm no exception. The supreme demon calmly replied. However, if there is one person I have looked after. After these words, the demoness's eyes opened wide. She couldn't believe her ears. Did you just say man? That's right. A man rejected by society and locked in his room. It was a guy quite young in appearance. But his eyes said that they had clearly not seen sunlight for a long time. His sickly skin color also literally screamed about it. And even at that moment he was sitting in front of the computer and playing. The guy was building a virtual hell. The one who banned all people. With the awakened talent to create hell. This is the kind of person we need. Old food waste stinking the whole room. Plastic bottles of urine are scattered all over the room. Windows and curtains have not been opened for 3 months. The door handle is covered with dust and cobwebs because I don't remember the last time I opened the door. The reason I live like this. 3-month refusal to attend school. Because everyone betrayed me. Ask if this justifies me sitting in a room as a typical hermit gambler? Maybe you will change your mind when you listen to the reasons. Hey. Are you not going to come out? A middle-aged man was violently knocking on the door and pulling the handle. The first reason is this person. What a jerk, you don't put your father's words in anything at all. The man still did not calm down and pulled the door as best he could. To be more precise, this stupid man and this parasite who climbed on his back and scratches her to get crumbs for a living. Hey, go get a hammer. The man shouted. Control yourself, darling. A pleasant-looking woman, looks very young, stood not far from her father and added. I must be so unpleasant to him, because his mother was kicked out, he doesn't even leave the room. As she spoke, she went up to her father and grabbed his hand. Clearly pretending to show his regret. The father's cheeks turned noticeably red, and he hugged the girl. Da Chong, it's not your fault. It is you who helped me cope even with such immoral behavior. Thank you for thinking that. The girl snuggled up to her father, and he added. Let's leave him and go out for dinner? Or already tired of eating out? Do you want anything specific? The girl's eyes filled with greed, and grinning, she began to say her wishes. I heard my father add something like. Anyway, I'm going to use my savings that I put aside for that bastard's studies. Da Zhang, how about buying you a new bag? The girl happily replied. Since you say that, one just comes to mind. I didn't hear the subsequent dialogue. They left. Those bastards. Feeling the vibration on the phone, I glanced at him. Oh, my battered old phone. The glass is broken, but it works, and I don't need more. There was a message on it. Kim Seung-hwan. Hey, I'm eating an idiot. And then another one came. Idiot eating, fucking. Hying has decided your suspension. And soon another one. Get to school quickly, we'll put your brains in place. The second reason is the person who betrayed me. And also those who hate me. 3 months ago. School. Quite a large 4-story building. A fist flying straight at my chest. A powerful blow. The guy hit me right in the stomach, so hard that I flew several meters away. A few bastards were watching this. "Hey idiot, eat. In the first position," said one of them. Finally forcing myself to speak, I mumbled. "I am 100% crushed with one hit." Kneeling down, I touched one of the guy's shoes and said, "Seung Won. Help me. We've been friends since high school." The guy looked at me with a strange look. Eat Seung Gi." He seemed to be remembering everything that had happened to us since childhood. But once we were inseparable. "Seung Won, so you were friends with such an idiot Yom, that's why you don't hit him." The green-haired guy, the instigator of this whole party. With white eyes peered into my childhood friend. It seemed to me that he was even sweating from the pressure. Right there, the bully who beat me up connected to the green-haired one. Seriously, now it's clear why he behaved like that. My friend, with a flourish, putting all his strength into the blow, kicked me right in the face. And then he attacked me, and continuing to beat exclaimed, "Friends? Hey, motherfucker. Do I look like such a simpleton?" He kept hitting me. "Why? Me? Be yours? A friend? Do I look like a simple target like you?" It turns out that Seung Won was framed, and in fact they did not communicate. 2 people who watched my beating believed my former friend, who seemed ready to kill me just to wag his tail in front of them. I bet my face doesn't look the best right now. After another blow, my already former friend said, "From now on, don't pretend we know each other. And don't make me a loser like yourself." Now do you understand that my words are not a simple excuse? Thinking about this, I finished another map. Having saved it with the name Hellpack, I decided to try to download it. After visiting this site, I logged into my profile and decided to write the 14th post. A new hellish survival map is being published. The world that didn't betray me is in this monitor. Besides my last card, there were others, and many of them received good reviews. And I didn't have time to upload a new card, as reviews showered on it. Creator, thank you very much. Thanks for the map. Oh, a new map. Thanks. Lying in bed, I could hear the sound of incoming notifications. I knew it was people thanking me for the new card. Right. I'm quite satisfied with that. After all, only inside the room. My hand squeezed the pillow, and the body trembled. Only inside this room. If I stay here, no one will betray me anymore. Tears rolled out of my eyes, and I fell asleep in my room, almost to overflowing with garbage and other junk. After sleeping for a few hours, I woke up. And the first thing I did was put on my glasses and sat down at the computer. Dad and that bitch seemed to be asleep already. Well, let's see what reviews there are for the new card. Taking the mouse, I went to the reviews and began to read. The perfect card. I've never played something like this. The quality and level of difficulty are impressive. Creator, you should sell it for money. This is the best map of 2022. And among the hells, perhaps the best. After reading a couple of pages, a grin involuntarily surfaced on my face. The reaction is good. And then, I noticed a notification in the lower right part of the screen. You have received a message. Who could it be? When I opened the message, I immediately noticed that something was wrong here. The sender is Bahamurk. The departure time is indicated only by the year and time. 22 year 641. Man, I had a lot of fun playing. It was a level of perfection comparable to the real hell. If possible, I would like to talk to you about creating hell. Can we meet? Outsourcing request? What a strange way of speaking. A baby or a foreigner? Will he meet? How does he even know where I am? As soon as I thought about it, a voice sounded in my head. The location of a common man? Of course I know. With a snap of his fingers, Bahamurk opened the portal. In an instant, something lit up near me. I couldn't believe what I saw. At first I thought it was a dream. Right in the air, a sphere that was the size of a fist lit up, but gradually increased. She grew until she was the size of a man. And even more, the space was filled with flames emitted by this portal. Fire! I was panicking, but suddenly I heard footsteps coming out of the fire. And a moment later he came out from there. Demon. Man. His voice alone made me sweat all over. I am a great demon. The Lord of the 20th Hell. Mr. Bahamurk. In front of me stood a skeleton with the head of a ram, and his whole appearance inspired strength. He was about 2 meters in size, broad in appearance, even though he was completely skeletal, he seemed to be bigger than anyone I know. His appearance seemed out of this world, a cloak as black as night, glowing red scarlet eyes. All I had to do was speak my thoughts out loud. Depression, refusal to attend school. And now hallucinations with ghosts? I'm walking straight downhill with confidence. I said it out loud, and apparently it was my fatal mistake. Before I could finish the sentence, the demon grabbed my arm and lifted me off the ground. His eyes were shining, and his grip was so strong that my suspicions that I had gone mad were immediately dispelled. I was definitely sane, I can feel his touch. He lifted me off the ground. Your mother. I am not a low creature, like a ghost, and not a hallucination. I am a demon, Bahamurk. And I came here for your talent. Really? It seemed that I only now realized the seriousness of the situation. I was thrown into a tremor. I managed to pull my hand out of the demon's clutches and crawled to the corner of the room. Trembling with fear, I watched the demon. He doesn't seem to like my behavior. Infuriating. Grabbing my hand again, his eyes lit up and fire poured out of his mouth. If you don't calm down, I'll pull out your brain and swallow it. This prospect did not suit me much, so I decided to listen to the demon. Even though it took an hour or so, after a while we were already sitting opposite each other, and from a distance it really looked like some kind of interview. After opening a jar of soda, I turned my gaze to Bahamurk and blurted out, "Damn, really a demon?" Handing a jar of soda to my new friend, I began to listen to the answer. He calmly accepted a can of drink and answered with ease, as if we had known him all our lives. Of course, not just a demon, but a higher demon. Answering, he examined the jar and its contents, after which he began to empty it. The big guy was sitting in my gaming chair. I can't believe it. The supreme demon is in my room, and he's also emptying my soda stocks. And you say you came here to see my new map? The shock of what I saw had already passed, but I was still thinking that it could be a dream, or something like that. A huge damn demon is sitting and drinking my soda. Pausing for a moment to drink, his eyes flashed, and he turned and spoke. Exactly. You have a talent. In particular, the map you made this time is really impressive. It was the first time I heard the review live, and I really liked it. There was just one thing, but the devil was talking to me. With no way to get out. The torture of false hope, made by a small passage through which it seems possible to escape. Carefully worked out. Traps that torment players constantly. Even the appearance seems elegant, despite all the cruelty around. While the demon was talking, I was lost in thought. But it was just a map made by me out of a desire for revenge, which covered my brain. Do I really hate everyone so much that I managed to summon a demon? And while I was thinking about it, my new acquaintance continued. Hell couldn't stand filling up so fast for 100 years. It was so crowded that it exploded and expanded in size. After finishing the contents of the jar, the demon did not stop. I am Bahamurk, chosen as the lord of the new hell. And I wish you would make it for me. In the likeness of the map you created. No. Even better than that. He said this with great pleasure. But I didn't like his offer at all. First, I had to leave my room. And I didn't want that at all. Secondly, why would I work for him? Is there any benefit in this? Listen. I wasn't thinking of doing something like that. And I wouldn't want to have anything to do with you. I just want to live as it is. I evaded consent as much as I could. And then the demon spoke again. Are you satisfied with such an unhappy life? The demon crushed the garbage lying in piles right in the middle of the room with his foot. You didn't hear my sentence to the end, man. To build a hell and make sure that it works properly, you will need to conduct an experiment. What? I was at a loss. What other experiment are we talking about? So, I will give you the right to put the sinners you want into the hell you have built. With these words, he pulled my hand and a key appeared from there, accompanied by black smoke. Everyone who made you suffer. Don't you want to send everyone to hell, man? In my head, I immediately remembered all the evil that was done to me. All the bullying and beatings. That day, I am weak and pathetic, escaped from the whole world, took the demon by the hand. I agree. I took the key from the demon's hand. If only I can get revenge on all these bastards. The demon grinned. Whatever you want. I was in complete anticipation. The grin did not leave my face. From the point of view of Bahamurk. Without a single hesitation. Seeing how he holds the key, as if he was just waiting for this. I understand that he will make hell even worse than it has ever existed. Haha. Well. Excellent. The contract is concluded. That day, obsessed with the desire for revenge, I took the demon by the hand. Looking at me with a satisfied grin, he said ominously. You are free to decide what kind of hell you will create, man. And then Bahamurk cautiously raised 2 fingers and added. However, there should be 2 mandatory elements in its creation. I wonder what kind of elements are these? That's what I could see on my face. Required elements? Right. The first. The hell you created must have a sin for which he will be imprisoned. And the name of this sin will be the name and a kind of nature of hell. I quickly figured out what was going on here. Hell of greed or hell of lies? How is that so? Bahamurk seemed to grin. Hee, you're smart. Pointing his finger at me, he added. Right. Something like a hell of greed or a hell of lies. Naturally, these 2 hells already exist. Therefore, you need to choose something else. After listening to my devil mentor, I thought about it. Everything looks as if. It's like I need to choose a sin so that I can aim and throw everyone I want there. But I didn't know how to think about everything properly, as Bahamurk voiced the second condition. Second. Hell should be a structure from which there is no way out. As you understand, the essence of hell is to make sinners suffer forever. If the sinner somehow gets out of there, then this hell will automatically disappear. Just like the demon is the master of this hell. I carefully examined the key that the demon gave me. It was a golden-colored key, with a pommel in the form of a red skull, and golden rays radiating from its neck. After listening to my mentor, I still decided to clarify. Are you saying that if there is a hole in the hell I made, you will be responsible for all this? Almost smiling, the demon replied. All right. However, I don't feel burdensome. If I'm already destined to disappear. At that moment, he opened his mouth, and his whole body seemed to burst into flames. He almost shouted that phrase. Before that, I will definitely destroy your soul. It's strange, any other person would probably already shit himself with fear, but it's like I'm already used to it. On the contrary, I had something like in my head. Bastard demon, what the hell is he talking about? But literally after a moment Bahamurk calmed down, he folded his fingers as if preparing to snap them. Now, I'll give you the tools. After its click, the whole sky turned bright scarlet and a purple lightning table hit our apartment complex. It seemed to have touched the wiring because my precious computer was covered in colorful pillars of electricity. It lasted a little longer than a second. But the game opened to me on the screen changed its name. Hellcraft. Before I could even open my mouth, the mentor pointed his finger at the computer and said, I noticed your progress in this game, man. So you're going to use it to design hell? Yes, you will design hell for me with this game. And my younger servants are demons, they will already build in the likeness. So man. Show me your abilities. The construction site of hell without a name. Bahamurk is lying on a sund under an improvised bone umbrella from the sun and pours another can of soda into himself. By the way, on the way to hell, he grabbed a whole bunch of soda and now it's on the table next to him. Resting, he watched the construction process. Not far from him, a whole horde of low construction demons gathered. They stood and waited for orders, as if in some strategy. And as soon as I did any action in the game, they immediately reproduced it in hell. Bahamurk watched me with his head on his hand. 2 piles of soda cans had already formed on either side of him. He thought about it. 7 days, 4 hours and 37 minutes have passed since I gave him the job, translating it into human time. This man is clearly not a timid 10. He doesn't sleep at all the time he creates this incredibly huge structure. And indeed, the structure was of amazing size. It seemed that with its architecture, attractiveness and atmosphere, it could compete with the main hell. Tall towers of Gothic style, spires going straight into the sky. Gorgeous windshields. A lot of architectural details beyond the control of an ordinary builder were present here because this is hell, ordinary physics does not work here. Damn, is he so incredible? Or is there such a strong hatred lying to him? Bahamurk was very pleased. Ha! As expected from the person I chose. After a while, I took my hands off the keyboard and said softly, I'm done, Bahamurk. A moment later, my mentor appeared behind me and approached me applauding. The superiority of man. Staring at the screen, he added, you did it faster than I thought. My entire table was covered with cans of energy drinks. It seemed like I hadn't eaten in ages, but I didn't care. Which is much more important. So what? Have you chosen a name for hell? It was this question that tormented me more than sleep or food. And it seems I finally decided. Betrayal. That's right, the hell of betrayal. Right after choosing, I saved the world. And my first thought was to test my hell in action. Opening the doors of my musty little room, a bright light scorched me. When I came out into the living room, I saw her. This vile lady who commanded my father as she wanted. Looking at how she is sitting on our sofa with another new bag, I was fired up. It's time for revenge. And I was about to start when the boss put a bony hand on my shoulder. Remember, the person who can be imprisoned in hell is the one who committed the sin that you yourself chose. But the thing is that sin must be committed after hell has been created. That is, the condition is satisfied only when committing a sin. I understood. If the condition is not met, the key will not respond? Exactly. If he reacts, he opens the door of hell and drags the sinner there. With these words, the Bahamurk caught fire and began to disappear. Finally, he said. Well, good luck. I never would have thought that I would listen to the words of parting words from a demon. Well, it doesn't matter though. As soon as my mentor disappeared, I headed straight for my victim. She was sitting and taking pictures of her new branded bag as if nothing had happened. When she finally noticed me, she said softly with surprise. Ugh, the smell is like rot. Go wash up and get out of my sight. You stink just as badly as your mother. While saying all this, she continued to stare at her phone. I looked at the key, but it didn't light up. That's right, less than an hour has passed since the creation, probably she hasn't had time to commit a sin yet. The most reliable way is to wait a few days, but if nothing's wrong, go back to your room, you're in the way, you fucking kid. Ha. I didn't come out before, so why did I come out now? Ordered some kind of delivery? But I can't. I want to get rid of this bitch right now. Because she's a worthy trash. My mom got married at 23. It looked like she'd been sold. A woman from a poor family married a man from a rich one and lived under the guidance of a mother-in-law who was never impossible to please. Listening to the mockery and reproaches, she continued to smile, and all this only for the sake of me alone. The one who was worthy of crying like no one else smiled like a fool. Experiencing mockery and beatings from her father, she always smiled at me. And then she lost this place, too. If it was love, maybe it wouldn't be so insulting. But that bitch of his is sitting in front of me right now. One day I overheard her talking. Why do you think I only date old men? Naturally, because they have a lot of money. Yes, and what I posted on Instagram, a bag and a car, yes, they gave it to me. Really, he's such a jerk. She was sitting right on our couch and chatting about such things. And then she noticed me and turned around. And, were you eavesdropping? And then she grinned maliciously and showed her finger at her mouth. If you don't want to get kicked out of here like your mother, keep your mouth shut. Understood? This stuff satisfies only its own desires, it doesn't give a fuck if someone else's family broke up because of this or not. Why the hell did you come out? Are you deaf? An adult is talking to you. After holding the pause for a while, I turned on the theatergoer. Pulling back the collar of the t-shirt a little and squinting, I asked. How much do you want to get to leave your father and leave? She clearly hadn't expected this. What? You don't have to pretend to me anymore. Anyway, I know you're only with your dad for the money. She smiled maliciously. This kid doesn't follow words at all. If I need to take something, I'll take it myself. What can a smelly little boy who has nothing give me? After holding a pause for a while, I said with as much uncertainty as possible. 100 million that my father saved up for my studies. And I also know where the savings book and my father's seal are. The trap is set, I thought, and added. In total, it will be about 1 billion won. Hearing this, my victim's eyes lit up like a rat that saw food. 1 billion. I decided to finish her off. If you don't believe me, I'll show you. Do you know where Prada is? Convulsively getting up from the sofa, she followed me into her father's room. Where his safe was. How lucky that I know the code. When she opened it, banknotes and gold immediately fell into her eyes. With such money, you can get a good job abroad. Right? I lifted a pile of bills on a tray, as well as a savings book, with a seal. A drop of doubt flashed through her mind. Wait. Why did you suddenly decide to do that? Shouldn't you keep quiet about it? There for your future. A familiar voice sounded from the right. Ho ho. Bahamurk was sitting on the bed, watching what was happening like in a movie, eating popcorn. A human woman is also not such a simpleton. What will you do? And what else is there to do? We need to push harder. Tears dripped onto the floor beside me. I made as plaintive a face as I could. I wish Mom would come back. After all, as soon as the young girl leaves here, she will be able to. He can come back. So I'm ready to do anything. Swallowing snot, I sobbed it out. Here even Bahamurk lost his jaw from what he saw. What can we say about this naive bitch? And I continued. Can you take this and get out of here? And now I saw her happy face. Is this jerk really a jerk? Is it really that simple? Laughing hysterically, she started loading cash and gold into the bag. I was happy. A smile spread across my face. This will satisfy the condition of betrayal of the father. Continuing to collect money, she said. Tell me the passwords and bank details. Okay? Leaving his image of a crybaby. I said it cruelly. You won't need it in hell. Apparently taking it as a joke, she grinned and turned to me. How fortunate. I just took the burning key out of my pocket. Pointing the key at this bitch, I turned it in an improvised lock. In the next moment, the space was distorted and the darkness was filled with a scarlet glow, accompanied by lightning. A second later, a door appeared in place of my improvised lock. Not even that, huge gates inlaid with human faces. Having turned the key in the keyhole, the doors opened with a bang. A fire was burning inside. Without even having time to be surprised properly, huge tentacles burst out of the door, like snakes, enveloped the girl, and dragged her to hell. As soon as the girl crossed a threshold, the doors also closed with a bang. Send a living person to hell. Landing in an empty gray brick room, the girl began to scream. What? Where am I? She was doomed to eternal suffering. I know that such an act cannot be justified. Bahamurk sat with a hellish tablet in his hands and watched her torment. Do you want to see it? I'm sick of something, I won't watch. And I know I'm not an incredible enough person to get that right. Bahamurk looked at me. Feeling remorse? But as he got closer, his gaze changed to surprise. Which one? Are you laughing? I couldn't help laughing. I was so pleased and funny. Finally, this creature will get what it deserves. Why do I feel so good? The next morning, I was casually putting on my old school uniform. And I lost weight while sitting in the room. The form has become freer. And really, the clothes looked a size or two too big. Hey, man. It's only been a couple of hours since that woman was sent to hell, and you're already behind the next one? I was standing on a pile of garbage right in front of the mirror. After trying on my outfit, I calmly replied to the boss. If you've already picked up a knife, you need to get rid of everyone. Turning around, I smiled at the demon and added. You don't like that your hell is empty either. Bahamurk bowed his head thoughtfully. You pretend to be caring, acting only for your own satisfaction. And then he opened his skull wide and added. I agree with you. The completed hell is the screams of the prisoners. It would be better to fill it more tightly. I'm wearing a school uniform for the first time in 3 months. Shaking off the dust from my backpack, I slung it over my back and headed for the exit. Just finished with the preparation. Let's go to school. Without thinking twice, I went to school in search of a new traitor. Bahamurk rubbed his hands in anticipation. Hell is gradually filling up. I'm already impatient. Class 2-4. A bunch of people crowded right around the entrance. They were discussing something violently. What is it? Really, what celebrity has come? Yom Seung Gi is back at school. I just put my bag down and sat down at my desk. Am I eating my sons? Ah. The idiot is eating. Didn't he refuse to go to school? I don't know if he came or not, I don't care. The main question is different. Wasn't the Buller gang chasing him? Right? These people were already walking down the corridor. As usual, the atmosphere in the classroom was very friendly. Ha. The air has gone bad again. Why the fuck did this jerk come at all? I hear everything freaks. Why are you asking? Kim Seung-hwan and all those Buller bastards. Clutching the key tightly in my pocket, I couldn't hide my joy. I came to send them to hell. A second later, the classroom door swung open, and the same guys stumbled into the room. Their leader immediately shone in his face. Idiot Yum. Since I was going to come, I should have warned you or something. Surrounding me from all sides, they mocked me. That's right, we're friends, it's frustrating. Bahamurk, who was standing next to me, whispered in my ear. And you're popular, man. Judging by the uproar after your arrival. I silently put my things on the table. But they were not destined to stay there for long. Kim threw them to the floor with one movement of his hand. Hey bastard, you left me with scratches on my face that were not easy to heal. You have to compensate me for this. If you don't want to get in the face, calmly follow me. Let's not make a fuss in class. Silently, I followed them to the men's room. And here I am standing in front of my abusers. So what? How will we compensate? You're the reason I got syphilis. The chief supported my former friend. Right. Do you even know how hard it was for Seung-hwan? He was severely scolded at home. And now he can't get into a prestigious university. I just stood there in silence and looked at the floor. Apparently one of the thugs was pissed off and he smacked me in the face with a swing. From such a strong blow, I immediately fell to the ground. Did that bastard swallow his tongue? In rages, Bahamurk took a seat in one of the booths. Is that what it means to be like a cornered rat? It's not like you had any relationship with them before. It won't be easy to get them to commit the sin of betrayal. What will a person do? How do you ask? I'll send everyone to hell. Bahamurk is right, there is no relationship between us. Then I won't be able to make them betray me. But people have been using improvised means since ancient times, thanks to which they managed to catch an animal several times larger and stronger than themselves. And in this hunt, the most necessary tool for me. The most effective weapon. Oh, idiot Yum. Did you really bring a knife with you? Or was he so excited by the blow that he decided to touch the papali? Hahaha. Silently, I took out a wad of money from under my jacket. And then, when the faces had already changed, he said. 5 million won. It's a simple money trap. What? Money? Is this a bribe? So that they don't beat you anymore? Asshole, you hit your head well. I can just kick you off and take them away, so what the hell are you doing? I calmly continued. That's right, though. It's not fair, so you won't do it. Bahamurk's chuckles were heard from the booth. He looked at the situation like a schoolgirl waiting for a confession. I threw a wad of banknotes on the floor. Just let me ask you something. Before I could finish, my ex-friend rushed at me with his fists. Shut your mouth, you idiot. But here's the bad luck, his buller friends were interested in my words. Taking Seung Hwan by the arms, they said. Wait. Let's hear it. Money, after all. Gotcha. Since he is so easily ready to give 5 million. So maybe he can give more. Sitting down next to me, the green-haired gang leader said. So, my friend. What's the request? I looked him straight in the eye, and then I pointed my finger at my friend and laughed hysterically. Kim Seung Hwan. Beat that bastard up with me. Kim Seung Hwan. I pointed my finger at my former friend. Beat that bastard up with me. Everyone seemed shocked by such a request, but the shock was quickly replaced by satisfied expressions. Only Kim Seung Hwan stood in complete shock. He couldn't believe that I could ask for just that. I'll give you as much money as you want. With these words, I took out bundles of money from my jacket and added. But beat up Kim Seung Hwan, who was my friend and betrayed me. It seemed that the mood of the people in the room had changed rapidly. The eyes were directed at my former friend who was standing in the corner of the restroom. Wait. With these words, it seemed that he even began to back away and pitifully stretched out his hand begging for mercy. The trap was closed. Hunting time. Holding in his hand a wad of money I had recently thrown on the floor, the green-haired leader of the gang was laughing happily. Ha ha ha, and this jerk is interesting. Putting a wad of money in his pocket, he continued. So you really were friends. And you kept pretending you didn't. Grinning maliciously and zipping up the pocket of his jacket, the guy pressed my friend closer and closer to the exit of the room. So don't hate me too much. It's his own fault that he lied to us. Consider it a refund or karma, whatever you want. After these words, a large beefy guy began to crack his knuckles and knead his fists. A moment later, my friend was grabbed from behind. Surrounded by his former comrades, he felt panic. He clearly didn't know what to do, and the best thing he came up with was to try to break out of the grip. Don't touch me. With a loud hysterical cry, he still escaped. Now he was standing next to me, screaming hysterically. What the fuck are you talking about? I told you it wasn't like that. Why don't you believe me, but believe this idiot? Watching all this, I was not thrilled. It seemed even the guy's former comrades were a little shocked by the hysteria. Then the green-haired guy said. Friends just want to make some money. Why are you balking, idiot? I've seen that expression on his face. The expression of despair on my friend's face. He realized he had just been betrayed. Then he turned on me and was practically crying, gritting his teeth in anger. Hey, why the hell are you dragging me into this whole motherfucker? How can you do this to a friend? His face was clearly begging for mercy. However, I only replied with a grin. Ha. A friend? After you made me like this? Although not. That's right, we're friends. And if so, then in a friendly way, try everything that I experienced on my own skin. At that moment, my face was just burning with pleasure. My already thin face, with that smile, looked just unbearably sinister. Experience a life as shitty as I've experienced. That bastard. My friend was about to hit me and even swung his hand. when suddenly one of his comrades grabbed him by the jacket and dragged him away. With a slight movement of his hand, he threw it to the other end of the toilet. And again the leader of the gang said, "We've already been paid, so beating you first is the right thing from the point of view of trade morality. Don't you think so?" Then turning to me he asked, "How many times to delete it? We received 5 million won in advance. If you take 500,000 for each blow, then it comes out 10 blows, okay?" Without thinking for a second, I agreed. And then I took a pose in which I would be pleased to watch my friend who betrayed me being betrayed by his comrades. Immediately after my consent, the foot of one of the guys flew into my friend's face. The first blow was excellent. One time. The leader spoke loudly. Then they started kicking my friend. The whole room was filled with the sounds of blows and the groans of the one who received them. So this is what beating looks and sounds like from the outside. It's more depressing than I thought. When I was beaten, the sounds were louder. My face expressed nothing. "Boring," I said loudly. "I don't understand at all why you bastards are doing this." Then I got up and took the key out of my pocket. A key whose eyes were already burning bright red. Bahamurk, who had been watching this theatrical scene all this time, burst out laughing joyfully. And then thoughtfully laid his head on the brush. Ho ho. Cause discord within the gang so that they commit the sin of betrayal. The sin of a woman of a man named stepmother had a different taste, really this one. While my mentor demon was watching, I had already directed the key at the sinners. And then he shouted loudly in their direction. "Hey, you human trash." In an instant, they all turned to me. I was standing with the key in my hand pointing in their direction and smiling. "It seems to have hurt you after all." You all turned around at once. As if forgetting about our agreement, they clenched their fists in anger and headed in my direction. "Idiot M, what did you just say?" Apparently they hoped that I would be scared. But I just laughed. "I'm not scared of the bastards. Keep doing this, but already in hell." With these words, the whole room seemed to be distorted, and after a moment it was filled with a bright red color. Energy began to be released from my key. It seemed that there was no trace of the bandits who threatened me. Their angry faces were replaced by fearful ones. As if I didn't notice it, I turned the key. A gate appeared out of nowhere. This was the end for these pathetic bandits. As before, the gate caught fire with flames, and tentacles like snakes were released from the gate. They grabbed 3 men who beat up my friend recently. All this happened in just a second. The leader of the gang did not give up until the last. He tried to grab the edge of the door and shouted hysterically, "What the hell is this? Who are you anyway?" And I just went closer to the door and helped his hand to break off the door. And then I added, "You've often heard that you're called a demon." Saying this, I remembered all the mockery. All the beatings and bullying that I went through because of him. And then, tearing off the last finger holding him in this world, I added, "So go to the right place for you, trash." After that, the leader of the gang went after his bandits. Straight to hell. And then the doors slammed shut. I stood there as if nothing had happened. No emotions on his face, only inner satisfaction. But my ex-friend clearly didn't understand what was going on. He was shaking with fear like a girl. I turned and looked at him. My boss's voice came from the booth. There was one left. I began to slowly approach my pathetic and insignificant friend who was lying on the floor and shaking. Don't you wonder what it was? My friend opened his eyes a little. I realized that he was interested. It sounds unrealistic, but I can open the gates to hell. Because some time ago, I got a key that can do it. While saying this, I shook the key with a bright red skull right in front of my former friend's face. Still panicking from fear, he only asked convulsively, "Won't you touch me?" Now that my once good friend was lying in front of me in such a state, I even felt sorry for him. Memories from childhood immediately began to pop up before my eyes, where we had a great time together. He even stayed at my place for the night once. I don't know what you'll think of me now, but I still think of you as a friend. Therefore, we will finish everything with a few strokes. I'm not sorry that everything turned out this way. It seemed my friend hesitated. However, when he quickly came to himself, he realized that he was not able to refuse me. I don't know if you'll believe it. I also did it simply because I was afraid of them. Well and good. Then from now on, let's try to restore our friendly relations. While saying this, I got up and went straight to the exit. And then something flashed next to my pocket. Something golden fell out of it. My friend, who was following me with his eyes, of course noticed this. Only for a moment he froze, not understanding what to do. And then my words rang in his head. It sounds unreal, but I can open the gates to hell. Because some time ago, I received a key that can do this. The second my friend remembered this, he jumped in the hope of grabbing the key. And he really caught it, and then shouted loudly. Bastard. Don't try to pick my soul with your pretentious speeches. Now I have the key. However, before he could even finish the sentence, he looked at his trophy. It was an ordinary locker key. And then he turned around and saw me. What I dropped was my locker key. I was standing with the second key in my hand, which was burning bright red. My friend understood everything. Wait, don't do this. So you have no desire to cope at all, what a pity. After that, loud screams were heard from the toilet and a red color flashed. Bahamurk stood and applauded me. Do you always bring your tricks to the end? It was a superbly thought out, smart and funny scam man. With a bit of sadness on my face, I said. The latter was not a trick. It was an exam. But I really wanted to give him a chance. But those who betrayed me are complete garbage. Bahamurk just scratched the forehead of his skull. Well, garbage or not, there are no classes in hell. Everyone suffers equally. Putting his arm around my shoulder, my boss added. Well, slowly you become free. Hurry up and make hell noisier, man. After all that was done, I decided to wash. Without exhaling loudly, I looked at myself in the mirror. A huge black eye was showing off under my left eye. Looking at this scene, the demon said. The longer I've known you, the more new things I discover about you. When you sent that woman you called stepmother to hell, there was only one revenge visible in you. But when you sent these classmates, I noticed emotions similar to self-hatred. I don't particularly like this ambiguity. After all, someone may be offended by the fact that you will be called a sweet potato. Closing the water in the tap, I calmly answered. I've never been sentimental. Always thought about the future plan. I just feel a little uncomfortable. Calmly talking about it, I wiped my hands. It's not because I feel sorry for them. Or else I feel guilty. No. All my life I couldn't cope with the bastards who took half a day to clean up. I was pathetic, my whole existence was ruined. Then I calmly left the toilet. Leaving the demon himself with his mouth open. He clearly hadn't expected such an answer. But he followed me anyway. I spent a normal day at school as if nothing had happened. In the evening, sitting in my apartment, I waited patiently. Bahamurk stuck his head right through the glass and watched the street. Suddenly he said. Oh, it's coming, it's coming. That man, your father, is already on his way up. While saying this, he moved directly to me, pointing his finger at the window. He had already entered the house. I just sat on the couch and thought. But my demon was impatient. Well, have you already prepared a trick? What methods are you using this time? After all, you don't have a trusted relationship with him or with your peers. Although where will they come from if you've been sitting in a room for 6 months, living your devastated life? The money trick won't work this time. After all, the source of your money is your father. Sitting on the sofa with my head bowed, I calmly said. I am not going to use any tricks. And I know better than anyone that they won't work for us. There was a noise in the corridor, obviously it was my father who came. But the demon still wouldn't let up. Tell me a little, man. Or has our friendship not reached that level yet? My father. He has a small insurance company. And the coefficient of protection of insurance payments of this company is incredibly high. Or explain it even easier to make it clear. Footsteps sounded in the corridor. The job of this person is to beat on the back of those who paid the insurance money. Entering the room, my father asked loudly. Who are you talking to? Throwing his suitcase on the sofa, he continued. At first he locked himself in his room and played with toys. Has it really reached schizophrenia yet? Just like his mother, just as weak. Calmly taking the already activated key out of my pocket, I looked at my boss. I told you. I'm not going to use tricks. This man today, as always, betrayed people. The key that I was holding right in front of my face was already activated. The eyes of the skull burned bright scarlet. Suddenly, a scream rang out from behind the demon. Fucking little bastard. What did you dare to say about your father just now? My father was already swinging to hit me, but by putting the key on his straight arm, I beat him to it. The space in the room was distorted. And the father just fell into a stupor. I will continue the dialogue with the demon. I've been thinking. Why did my father leave my mother? And how can he be so harsh to me, because we have the same blood? I think my father began to bully people at work every day. So betrayal became his habit. Having turned the key, a huge gate appeared out of nowhere. All the same beautiful patterns and people's faces decorated them. Father didn't understand what was going on. What? The door, but I didn't pay attention to him. Good road. I didn't say it out loud. And in a moment the tentacles had already grabbed the father. He tried to resist, but it was useless. Let go. He was shouting. But I just shook my head. No. That's where you belong. Then the door slammed shut. After a while, Bahamurk was already sitting on the couch and watching his victim suffer in hell. I was also sitting next to him, but I wasn't looking at the tablet. After a brief glance at me, he asked. So what? Is your revenge complete? I picked up the portrait of our once happy family that was standing on the table. What are you planning to do now? Are you going to punish all the traitors in the world? Or are there still those who betrayed you, whom I do not know about? Let people in on your plans. I just stood there with my face buried in my phone. Revenge is over. The sounds of dialing came from the phone. Now it remains only to surrender. I showed the screen of my phone to the demon. The phone and the number 112 were open on it. After a while I was already sitting in the police station. 2 people were recording my testimony into a computer. I was playing the incomprehensible. And 2 employees looked at me suspiciously. My boss was also watching this picture. When suddenly a pictogram appeared in front. And a second later, a lower demon appeared right on top of her. By the most worthy supreme demon Bahamurk. Lord Lucifer summons you. Please visit him immediately. Satisfied, Bahamurk asked. Is he calling me because the news has reached him that hell is finished? Well, that's good. After all, it got boring here. With these words, he looked at me and then slowly got up and went to the open portal. The Gothic palace on top of the cliff was flaunted by the light of the red moon. Entering the room, Bahamurk noticed a round table at which all the higher demons were already sitting in the head with Lord Lucifer. As soon as he entered, Lucifer said. All 12 candidates for the post of the 20th Lord of Hell gathered here. The Lord of all Hells, Lucifer, sat on his throne. And the grin never left his face. As soon as Bahamurk entered the room, he noticed. All the higher demons that can be compared to me. He looked around at the creatures sitting around the table. Why are they gathered in this place? Because we have never met each other. The supreme ruler of the demons stretched out his hand pointing to an empty seat. To begin with, sit down, Bahamurk. The demon slowly approached his seat, pushing the table aside. He began to speak. Mr. Lucifer, I came later than everyone else. Could you tell me the reason why we were called? Suddenly, the eyes of the supreme demon lit up with a bright purple color. And he said with pressure. Sat down. A huge pentagram formed around the Bahamurk. He couldn't resist the will of the demon lord. A moment later, he was already sitting in his seat. One of the demons sitting next to him laughed. Ha ha. Do you think we also sat here because we wanted to? Everyone is sitting still because Mr. Lucifer said so. This creature bore little resemblance to a demon. He was wearing a tight-fitting suit of dark black with a purple tinge. And so I live in a mask. He continued. We are all lords of the reserve hells. The demon who spoke to me was a higher demon named Gargamoga. A backup hell? Bahamurk asked in perplexity. What does this mean? He said loudly. Lucifer spoke. Yes. Everything is exactly as you heard it. This is the most accurate definition. A few days ago, I summoned each of you higher demons and gave you the right to create hell. After all, in fact, when I gave you the key, I did not say that you would be the sole owner of the new hell. And I never said that I would accept them as official hells. Saying this, the Supreme Lord smiled maliciously. So. The Supreme Demon similar to the Gorgon Medusa began to speak. It was the Supreme Demoness Liaison. Master, do you mean to say that each of the 12 higher demons had their own hell created? Lucifer pointedly snapped his fingers. Bingo. Tell an interesting fact? None of you created hell on your own. And you've all used people you've always looked down on for that. Bahamurk thought about it. I thought they were dumber than me, but they're not. It is possible to ask for a person's help, usually the case. Because so far the best hell is the hell of the unbelievers, created by a man named Dante. Suddenly one of the demons, whose head looked like a huge eye, was strangled. His eye began to run in all directions. He obviously didn't have a mouth. But he was obviously asking something. The supreme demon Sadius. That was his name. To which Lord Lucifer hastily replied. Come on, Sadius. I ask what I suddenly want to say? In short, only one hell made by the best person of all the ones you have chosen will become official. The rest will be destroyed. In a second, the atmosphere in the hall instantly became hostile. All the demons understood that from now on they are opponents. Lucifer continued. Everything is right. I am Lucifer, I want to see the bloody battles of the creators of hell. Question room number 1. I was sitting in the room with my head down. To confuse the investigation, I came to the police station myself and reported my father and stepmother missing. But the problem turned out to be much bigger than I thought. There was also a report about the disappearance of a group of students. 6 people have been missing for a day in the area. And the missing had only one thing in common. And that's me. So why did they take it seriously from the very beginning? Why was I able to win this game in just 2 days? Everything is simple. Let be the only common variable between all the missing. There's no way they can catch me. It's just a coincidence, nothing more. There is no one who has seen me open the doors to hell. No bodies or weapons were found. None of the 3 elements of murder. Body. Witness. Guns. None of this. There is something in common with the missing, but the law is soft enough not to put a person behind bars, having only such a basis. And let me be in the interrogation room right now. I'll be released soon. Thinking about all this, I myself did not notice how my smile stretched on my face. Meanwhile, right up to the door of the interrogation room, the 2 detectives were talking to each other. No matter how much I search and put pressure on him, nothing comes out. Sunbae? He doesn't look like some kind of professional killer. But neither the bodies, nor the tools, nor the witnesses, he could not keep track of all this. What should we do? The second detective stood and thought. It was a red-haired guy a little older than me. You ask? We need to substitute it and close it. Well, or let go. It was Detective Park Sang-sik. The second group is the operational department. However, before we do this, I want to talk to him once. Turn off the microphone. This is not even an interrogation, but an investigation. A young detective came into my room and closed the door. I'm sorry that your parents are missing and you have to go through all this. You do understand that we are not doing this because we want to. He was looking right at me. His gaze was quite confident. I need to at least make sure you're innocent. I was calmly sitting on a chair and without looking up I said. I didn't kill. When suddenly the detective said something I didn't expect to hear. Because you sent them all to hell. At that very moment, I panicked. I looked directly at the detective and noticed how he was holding the keys to hell right in front of him. This key didn't look like mine. But still they had something in common. The guy asked with a slight smile. Surprised? You're not the only one who created your own hell. I was sitting with my eyes wide open. How is this possible? Bahamurk deceived me? Don't be surprised so much. I've been watching you, but I didn't think you'd crack up so soon. The guy calmly sat down opposite. Some kind of mess was going on in my head. Damn. This fact stunned me so much that I forgot to keep in character. A detective's keen sense? Or did he understand everything from the very beginning? I can't read it. After everyone else left, the one who has known everything for a long time came. The guy got up from his seat and sat on the table right next to me. It seemed my gaze was panicked. And his cold as ice. If that's what happened, you need to send him to hell and erase the traces. But how to make this one commit the sin of betrayal? I gripped the keys tightly in my pocket. Suddenly, a portal appeared to my right. And my mentor, the supreme demon, came out of it. And at the same second, a portal appeared to my left, unlike my bright fiery one. The second portal was purple in color and looked as if someone had broken the space like glass. A creature similar to a human came out of the second portal, but the fact that he came out of the portal immediately made it clear to me that it was also a demon. When suddenly he spoke. We meet again, Bahamurk. And what my demon replied. Gargamanga. What a coincidence, it seems our people already know each other. It's good. The purple demon replied. But it's worth getting rid of this hostility. Especially your man with glasses. He looked straight at me and said. He was just thinking about opening the gate. Bahamurk spoke to me. Leave the hostility, man. Because the game hasn't started yet. What are you talking about? Are there other creators besides me? What game? Everything is right. Besides you and the other demon in front of you, there are others who have also entrusted the creation of their hell to a certain person. And soon the deadly game will begin. By the choice of one of the lords of hell out of 12. The demon detective ordered. Free him first, detective. If you don't let go, they can find someone else to take his place and then. But the demon wasn't done. The red-haired detective interrupted him. I was going to do it anyway. From the point of view of the police, there is no way to prove his involvement in the crime. And since I am also a builder of hell, I am essentially the same criminal. With the same methods. While saying all this, he stared at me intently and held the key in his hand. Suddenly Bahamurk spoke with interest. "Man, you're not that green." He said everything correctly. In addition, it will be difficult to reach the end in this survival game, where you may have to lose strength in the early stages. So if we're done with everything here, I'm taking it. I have a lot to explain to my man. After my boss finished talking, the detective calmly opened the door and let me go. Hurrying away, it seemed I almost noticed his grin. He almost caught me. 2 detectives remained in the interrogation room, his demon handler. The demon encouraged his man. "Don't regret it. Because the name of your sin is more universal than that of any other hell. We'll use this kid as a hunting dog and get rid of him when he becomes useless." The detective calmly replied. "Sure. After all, only if I live to the end, I will be able to realize a fair equal society." When I arrived at my apartment, the first thing I did was flop down on the sofa. He knew I was using the gate. Besides, he turned out to be the same. I could have been arrested or even sent to hell. I almost shouted the last sentence. But my boss quickly brought me to my senses. "Don't take out your anger on me, man. It was your decision to go to the police station yourself and let him catch you by the tail." And then I shouted hysterically. "But I didn't know there were other creators." When suddenly the demon grabbed my head and pressed right against a wall. His eye lit up. "Know your place, man. The great supreme demon Bahamurk, can easily tear your soul out of your body." When he said that, there was not a drop of emotion on my face. However, he soon let me go. Besides, I'm very angry too. It didn't even occur to me that Lucifer gave others the opportunity to create their own hell. And in addition, it will also arrange a deadly game between their creators. Son of a bitch. For the last 500 years, all I've done is wipe his ass. A deadly game? I asked. That is, the winner is the one who will stay alive until the end? My boss looked at me intently. Do you think you can? I thought a little and then said. First, tell me the rules of the game. And everything that happened while I was under investigation. Okay. I'll show you. With these words, Bahamurk stretched out his hand to me with 3 fingers outstretched. It seemed strange to me, but I didn't say anything. And then he put his fingers right in my eyes. I started screaming and after a moment I realized that my eyes were fine. But now I know everything that happened in the underworld. Now I understand why it was called a deadly game. There is no such thing as the right to choose. Even if I give up, someone will still come and throw me into their hell. At that moment, a drop of fear seemed to envelop me. Everything is right. My boss answered. But this also applies to me. Lucifer said he would leave only one hell. Only one will survive, the others bound by the contract will die or disappear. As he spoke, he theatrically ran his finger around his neck. Sitting right in front of me on the floor, I thought. I don't give a fuck what happens to this demon. Even if I end up in someone's hell, you can think of it as retribution. However, there is one question, Bahamurk. If your hell disappears, what will happen to the people who are there now? They will disappear with him. I was afraid to listen to this answer. Then I can't just give up. Because I don't want them to die so easily. After my answer, even the supreme demon seemed surprised. His eyes seemed to grow even wider. A crazy man. Not for his own sake. And so that sinners remain in prison? To which I smiled. Isn't it the nature of hell? Hell is a space in which people will suffer forever. Right. That's right, you say. With a cycle like you, maybe becoming the lord of a new hell won't just be a dream for me. After these words, his eyes lit up and a strange aura filled the room. And then he pointed at me and said. I am the supreme demon Bahamurk, I recognize you as my colleague. Then I shook the demon's hand. Somewhere far away, a huge eye was watching all this. GR. I see everything, too, Sadius. It was the same demon that had a huge eye instead of a head. He was standing on one of the roofs with his man. With the help of a pentagram, he scanned the surroundings. His man was a girl. A very beautiful girl. She was standing next to him holding a sledgehammer. She had a mask on her face, but there was a similar pentagram next to her eye. One has already been found. It was the creator of an unknown hell. Ho Min Jae. 18 years old. I sat at the table and wrote down the rules. And then he took the paper and handed it to the demon. If you put all the rules together, it turns out like this. Rules. 1. The winner is the one who threw his rivals into hell. 2. The demon can help the creator of hell in this process, but he should not use his powers. 3. Creators can use any means. 4. This process will continue until there is only one person left. Bahamurk, holding a piece of paper in his hand, said. I wrote it down exactly like that. And as Mr. Lucifer does not add new rules on a whim, your list is correct. Then the first question. With these words, I understood one finger. Besides the power that can't be used, how else can you help me? Does this mean that you have some other abilities? My strength in which you say Lucifer gave me. It involves moving between this world and hell. Hellfire emanating from my body. The ability to give orders to lesser demons. And the like. In addition, each demon has one unique ability. Which manifests itself with birth. Having received such information, I thought. A unique ability. This is not just a guessing game, but another variable. Then Bahamurk, what ability do you have? My ability to detect death. When I was younger, or more precisely something like an animal, my role was to find the deceased and escort him to hell. Tell us more about the ability itself. I was about to listen when the intercom suddenly rang. What the hell? Is it really a policeman again? Or delivery? I didn't order anything. I was thinking about it as I walked down the hall. And when I got to the intercom, I pressed the button and said. Yes? Who's there? Looking at the camera, I couldn't believe my eyes. A girl? It's all kind of suspicious. She's wearing a mask. When suddenly the girl took off her mask and said. I want to show you something. Hey. What the hell? After a moment, she started unbuttoning her shirt. And her cleavage appeared in the light. What the hell? Psychotic. What is she doing? Looking at all this, I involuntarily blushed. But he said it anyway. Get out of here. Quickly. Until I called the police. After these words, I immediately turned off the intercom. And I was about to go back to my room. Bahamurk was already looking out, waiting for me. When suddenly he seemed to sniff. And then he said. This. Yes. It's the smell of death. A girl has come to take your life. Then different thoughts came to my mind. Take my life? Why? And then it dawned on me. I, who was in the corner of the room all the time, could not do anything to a stranger, so that he wanted to kill me. Then she is the creator of hell. The girl was standing right outside the door. In one hand she was holding a huge sledgehammer, and in the other she could see the key already activated. As if bragging, she took it out and said. The sin of voyeurism. Confirmed. She pointed the key towards my door. But fortunately it works only with direct contact with a person. All you have to do is break down this door. And then go out and throw him into hell. Right, Sadius? With these words, the girl raised the sledgehammer with difficulty and turned to her mentor, who was hiding around the corner. Grrr. The huge head in the form of an eye began to twitch in a positive way, confirming this. He even started clapping his hands. Your observation ability is the best. So quickly found me a hunting target. Speaking of which, this whole girl was already swinging a huge sledgehammer at my door. And then she shouted. If you don't come out yourself, I'll fuck everything up. After these words, he landed on my door handle. A loud bang was heard. Crazy bitch, I thought. I started knocking out the door. The way it breaks means only one thing. That the key activation conditions have already been met. And if it was performed simply by showing the chest through the intercom. So her sin is voyeurism. It's not that hard. And why did I take my key out of my pocket? My sin is betrayal. Bahamurk not knowing who she really is, I looked into the intercom and got caught. There is a crisis situation now. Is that not enough for the sin of betrayal? Seriously too young to call it a sin. To activate the scream, the other party must reject your trust. Isn't it natural that a crisis situation suddenly created for you cannot be called a betrayal? After a little thought, I agreed. And that's right. It's too shallow to go to hell. Bahamurk, looking at how calmly I stand and think, laughed. Ho ho, I see that you are calm. So you've already come up with something? Meanwhile, the girl continued to actively knock out the door for me. If the opponent has already activated the key and is trying to enter, the only option that remains is to make her believe that I can do the same immediately after opening the door. With these words, I went straight to the entrance to my apartment. And he sat down on the floor right in front of the door. And then he said loudly. You enter and immediately go to hell. From which the girl calmed down for a moment, but after a second she continued. First he was sitting in the corner and now he's bluffing? As you can see, I am now trying to open the door and enter. With these words, another blow fell on my door. And I do it because my conditions have already been met. And then another blow blew off the handle of my door. It worked. The girl was happy for a second and wanted to open the door, but I repeated it. I repeat once again, as soon as you enter you will go to hell. I said it as calmly as I could. The girl thought about it. Not trying to escape? He doesn't even beg for mercy. Why? Noticing that the girl hesitates, I smiled maliciously. Gotcha. You're probably wondering why I'm not running? My hell, this is invasion hell. The girl froze right in front of my door. She didn't know what to do next. I was sitting and waiting for her next move. My lie about a fictional hell. Invasion hell. In my opinion, this is the best bluff. A very simple trick that anyone can come up with. Bahamurk, who was watching all this, thought. There was no deception clause among Lucifer's rules. This person. Despite the fact that death is on his doorstep, he was able to think of such a trick at the most critical moment. The girl stood and thought. She had high enough intelligence to be chosen by a demon not to realize that it could be a deception. There is a high probability that this is a bluff. No, it is more than 90%. However, what if these words turn out to be true? By opening the door, I will satisfy the conditions for activating the key. What if the game ends here for me? For a moment there was silence, and the girl scrolled through all the scenarios in your head. There is one scenario. If you insert the key of hell into an open doorway and activate it. In such a situation, even a simple hand crossing of the doorframe can be counted as an intrusion. In addition, since the enemy is not visible, it is impossible to determine whether the gate was activated properly. The first option disappears. Option 2. Just leave. I won't have to humiliate myself like this anymore and maybe even run into the sky. No. He has already understood the activation conditions for my key. This may become my vulnerability in the future. Damn. Any of the options is risky. What to do? She even bit her lip from the tension. A voice came from behind the door. Are you probably thinking what to do now? If you leave, you won't get anything, but the damage will be small. But you're afraid to come in, too. How about an offer that we both benefit from? Let's make an alliance. The girl's eyes widened at these words. Even the demon standing behind her was surprised. Ha! Union? Only one creator of hell will be left alive. Who lived to the last minute. There is no joint winning option. It's only going to work now, but sooner or later, we're going to have to betray each other. To which I had a big smile on my face. This is exactly what I need, I thought. We can keep this union until we get rid of the other 10 people. I said as confidently as I could. Are you sure you can handle 10 others alone without even knowing their sins? The girl thought about this proposal. This is feasible if you use the same method as I do today, but the longer it goes on, the more difficult it is to cope alone. In addition, if I step back and make him my enemy, he can spread the information about my sin to others. I won't be able to attack suddenly anymore, and that's my advantage. Turning the girl in hope, I asked the demon. What should I do, Sadius? To which he just shrugged his shoulders. My phone number is 0108234. If you decide to make an alliance and talk, you will not need to invade my space, which is a condition for activating the key. Well, you'd better leave today. You made a fuss in an apartment building, so the police will be here soon. And think carefully about my offer. The girl froze for a moment and then took out her mobile phone from her pocket and wrote down the number. Then I decided to leave hastily. He's not that simple. I wonder if all the creators of hell are on about the same level? I sat in front of my door for a while. And then I let out a hysterical laugh. Ha! Did I almost die just now? With that, I looked at my boss. But the game has just begun. Bahamurk calmly replied. I suspected that there is a demon whose ability detects the creators of hell. But I didn't think you'd be the first target. That's not what's more important. What you did was brilliant intelligence. Found a way out in a moment. Praise. Phew. Bahamurk, your ability turned out to be more useful than I thought. We need to think about how to use it more effectively in the future. That night, the girl finally contacted me. I was playing computer games and building as usual. Suddenly my phone rang. A message has arrived. Hastily reading it, I grinned. The content was as follows. I agree, but if you betray me, you'll die. One day I earned myself so much profit. If I push her to destroy the alliance, I can activate the hell of betrayal. An incredible advantage. I was just beaming with happiness. Meanwhile, the criminal division. The red-haired detective was sitting and looking at the lists on the computer. His workplace was strewn with leaflets and missing. The demon standing behind him said. It looks like you're obsessively looking for something, detective. Other creators of hells? Are you using your position? Not a bad trick. Sitting right in front of the screen, the detective propped his head on his hand. However, 10,000 people a year are more likely to disappear. About 1,500 just last month. It's going to be harder than I thought. Suddenly the light came on in the office. Son, have you finished working yet? It was one of the detective's colleagues. Not expecting to see someone here, the red-haired man asked. What are you doing here at this hour? Did you take overtime again? To which the colleague smiled and lifted the package. Oh, no, I just brought a change of underwear and socks just in case. After that, he put the package in the locker of his table. By the way, son. The guy we interrogated. I would have heard a call to his house. A challenge? The detective's attention was instantly attracted. Yeah. Imagine some crazy schoolgirl smashed his door, or something. The neighbors called the police, but the kid personally assured that everything was fine. And the suspect has already managed to escape. A smile spread across the detective's face. What luck. The girl that suddenly caused chaos at the apartment of Yom Seung Gi. Definitely the creator of Hell. Excellent. The guy copes perfectly with the role of a hunting dog. Listen, the video from the cameras where this girl was filmed. Can I get them? Oh, of course. I'll stop by there on the way home and pick it up. If you're on your way, I want to ask you something else. To which the detective's partner, who was already leaving, turned around. For this week, imagine a tale to Yom Seung Gi. While the three creators of Hell, who revealed their identity, are playing a game of ingenuity, the first excluded appeared. A dark room located in a skyscraper opened a magnificent view. And against a background of this view, the man was on his knees as if begging for mercy. And opposite him was another middle-aged man, with a demon behind him. This demon resembled the deity of Egypt. It was a humanoid with an eagle's head. And in his hand he held something like an Egyptian axe. The man who was standing held out the key directly to the person opposite and turned it. The other one on his knees started to speak. A young man. Please, spare my life. Say something to Jubu Jubu. I'm not a sinful person at all. He turned to his demon. It was a small demon similar to the lower one, but with a slightly different shape. However, the man in the white suit came closer. Respected. Sometimes existence itself is a sin. With these words, he put his hand on the shoulder of the worshipper. You only spoiled the oxygen and humiliate yourself. And I can't close my eyes to it. With that, he activated his key. And there was one less player. The vanishing little demon spoke. Ram. Consider yourself lucky. You are the hands of a man. But the meaning of his phrase could not be heard. The man who had just sent his opponent to hell stepped right on the demon, crushing it and hastening the destruction. A pathetic demon. And he chose the same person for himself. To which his mentor wiped the sweat from his face. But still, offending a higher demon. When suddenly the man threw a creepy look at his demon. If you don't want it to be the same with you, do everything right, Ram. To which even the supreme demon felt fear. Come on, I'm just kidding. We're partners. Going to the window, the man added. 10 left. As soon as I deal with them, I will be able to carry out my plans. I can create my own utopia. Day 2. I was sitting in front of the monitor and doing my usual thing. Played video games. Slept. Day 3. Bahamurk was sitting with a soda in his hand and did not understand what was happening. Yom Seung Gi does nothing. He only sleeps and rests. Unable to stand it, Bahamurk asked. 3 days ago you were able to cope with the problem and even succeeded by forming an alliance, but now you're so idle that it's even surprising. Weren't you going to be the last survivor? He said as he watched me eat a recently ordered pizza. After chewing, I took out the key and calmly said. I understand. You want me to get out of here right now and start dealing with the rest of the creators. In fact, such a pastime also pisses me off. Then why are you doing this? The demon said almost angrily. I was as calm as a boa constrictor. First, since this is a deadly game, the closer the second half, the less time there will be to rest and gather information. I said it with a serious face and raised my finger up, confirming that this is point 1. Think for yourself. Having become the target of an experienced hunter, will I have the opportunity to sleep? Second. I stuck out my second finger. But then he grabbed another slice of pizza. Sooner or later, someone's patience will burst, and this someone will make a mistake. After all, there will always be fools who value victory in battle more than victory in war. We'll start hunting when they all lose patience. Bahamurk looked at me thoughtfully. Suddenly my phone vibrated and a call rang. She was my ally. I picked up the phone and heard an irritated voice. 3 days have passed since the conclusion of the union. What have you been doing? I answered calmly. Nothing. This is such a strategy. You know. Here's someone like you who wants to break in and take out another opponent. And I have the sin of invasion. Ha. I don't know if I should say it. While you're resting there, something happened. Happened? Tell me. I'll copy the link and send it to your phone. As soon as you look, let's meet. In that case, I think we should act together. Then she hung up. I didn't understand what was going on a bit. A second later, a link came to me. YouTube link? I thought and immediately clicked on it. I got on the channel of one of the streamers. And I started listening to what he was talking about. Guys. I recently started an interesting game, you know. No, home nerds, not online, but in real life. Something like a Squid Game. Participants wait, not knowing each other's identity, until someone takes the first step. It's so boring. Your ardent streamer, Gagak's older brother, is so furious about this, you would know. If this is a deadly game, shouldn't we be constantly chasing each other? Setting traps, shouting? That's why I was the first to reveal myself. Provoke others, so to speak. Do you want this key? With these words, he showed the key into the frame, seemingly ordinary, but all wrapped in bandages, just like a mummy. Or maybe you want to target other creators that will come after him. I invite you all to my house. The venue of the party and my home will be published in a pinned comment today at 12 AM. Well, see you soon, people. And then the video ended. Bahamurk and I were staring at the screen together. Well, how did Bahamurk see? Yes. Everything is as you expected. With these words, he handed me a can of soda. Now is the time to act naturally. At such an event, we will be able to find out more about other creators than you think. As a bonus, it would be good to reduce the number of participants. Free time is over. With these words, Bahamurk squeezed the soda can. An ordinary restaurant. People were walking back and forth, talking about nothing. I was sitting at a table and tried to blend in with the crowd. After a while, a girl came to my table. What a shy bastard. Specifically asked me to meet in a crowded cafe so that I wouldn't open my gates. I just grinned and waved my hand. However, I left the house to take care of you. Or do you want to activate the sin of invasion? Passed. The girl sat down opposite me. What do you think to do with that bastard from the video? Ordinary people thought it was just a new concept or some kind of event. Being calm as usual, I replied. Judging by the large number of views, the probability that several creators watched the video is quite high. The girl waved her head in confirmation. Yes. I think a couple of people will definitely come. And what are you going to do? What's your plan? Meanwhile, in my head. If I agree to this meeting too easily, she may think that I am overly confident in my sin and will begin to doubt. I need to pretend like I have no choice but to go. With these thoughts, I said. We have to go. I know my sin won't work if I change the location, but this is a rare opportunity to learn more about other creators. About their sins, personalities. At least about those who bought into the provocations. In general, you are right. To begin with, let's wait for the comment with the address to appear. Let's check it out. Suddenly, all was calm. I even opened my mouth in surprise. Right behind the girl I saw my old friend. The detective was walking straight towards us. And beside him walked his mentor demon. The detective? What did this man forget here? Turning around, the girl said in surprise. What, haha? Hello, little ones. Gathered suddenly in the morning in such a place and argue? We both panicked for a moment. The only one who was confident in himself was the detective. Noticing that we were drinking drinks, he immediately stretched out his hand to him and asked, "Oh, can I take a sip?" Meanwhile, my brain was creaking. Since when has a detective been following us? He appeared without even knowing our sins. Does this mean that the key activation condition is met? The detective slammed his glass loudly on the table and said, "Ha, refreshing." And then he looked around at us and said, "Don't move." Damn, he noticed. From the moment he came up, we both put our hands on our keys. The detective continued with a serious face. "From now on, if you move without my permission, you will die." With that, he pulled back his jacket. There was an activated key on his inside pocket. At this time, the streamer was already preparing to meet the guests. He was sitting and looking at the phone. The creator of the unknown Gagak Hell. So, I wrote the address without errors. Attention everyone, I publish my address. 145 Street, Seoul, Sodom and Gu, Yeongjong Row 37X Gil. Office 1101 room. It remains only to publish and consolidate. A gloomy demon who looked like a hangman and a scarecrow at the same time asked. There was a slight fear in his voice. Will everything really go the way you planned? It was the supreme demon Jinkajani. The streamer just grinned and started rolling around on a chair all over the room. Needless to say, this guy's room looked completely different from the boy's room. Of course. Ta damn. With these words, he pointed to his computer monitor. I have already prepared everything so that we can immediately seize the initiative. The monitor broadcast images from multiple cameras around the perimeter of the building. Besides, your ability is a scam. The demon just scratched his head in thought. The first large-scale event in a deadly game. Preparations for Gagaki's attack are complete. Me, my ally, and a detective. We were all sitting at the same table. The key that the detective showed is shining. This means that the condition of sin that he established has been achieved. But when did he have time? At what point? After starting the survival game, I tried not to commit a single, even a lot of sin. What kind of sin does he have? Wait a minute. Last time at the police station, the key did not react. So it's not activated now because of me. It's because of her. With these words, I looked at my companion. Damn. She has a face that makes it impossible to understand anything. Really? With these words, I started to get up and told my companion. Home Min Jae. We leave the cafe. The detective looked in my direction and said. Didn't I tell you to sit still? The elders should be listened to. The detective visibly tensed. If you move, I'll send you straight to hell. Sit back down. But I decided to temper his anger. This is pure bluff. You blackmailed someone who committed your sin and forced him to come here. I said quite calmly, even with a bit of arrogance, looking down at the detective. Meanwhile in my head. What if neither my ally, nor I myself? What if none of us have sinned? What if the detective's words are pure bluff and he brought someone here who fell for his bait? The puzzle is being put together. The detective's key was in his jacket and we didn't see his condition when he first entered the cafe. In other words, the detective already knew that the key was activated. And a good reason for his confidence is hiding somewhere here. With these words, I looked. And immediately noticed a guy sitting behind us. His legs were shaking, it wasn't difficult. Bingo. I looked at his desk. Judging by the call of the order, he came not so long ago. I walked right up to him and put my hand on his shoulder. You came here because a detective threatened you, didn't you? Finally, my ally understood what was going on. The girl got up and screamed. So the key wasn't reacting to us turning around, I said. Well, detective. What a pity. When you bluff, you need to do it more convincingly. The girl screamed even louder. Isn't this a scam? Suddenly, the guy I suspected approached the detective and whispered in his ear. I did everything you asked, didn't I? You don't need my presence anymore? Then he took his things and left. I watched the detective's face. I needed to see his reaction. But he only chuckled a little. Laughing? And you've grown up, Yom Seung Gi. Or at the police station I just went straight off the mat and didn't give you the opportunity to show your skills? Psycho. What is he even talking about? Since the scam didn't work, did you decide to play irrationally? The detective calmly continued. It was a test. Having said that, he put his hand on my shoulder and my companion's. Because I don't want to form an alliance with idiots. Ha. Having already started to take my hand away, I added. First he threatened our lives, and now, since it didn't work, he decided to bluff? Detective, this is already too much, you need to know the measure. To begin with, sit down, kids. Because I have a suggestion. The three of us were sitting at the back table again. However, the atmosphere was a little friendlier. The detective was finishing my companion's drink. And while he was emptying her glass, she turned to me. Are you really going to listen to this scammer? We're busy, and the raid. I decided to be silent. You're probably wondering why I decided to sit down and listen. Everything is simple. This guy is a detective. He can draw conclusions about the creators based on case data. In addition, it is possible to detain or persecute forcibly using public authority. Roughly speaking, unlike the creators who use a single hell ability card, he starts playing with two at once. If such a person offers an alliance, it is worth listening to him. Also, taking into account the fact that there is a raid ahead, there will be absolutely a large number of people. If you tell us about your sin, we will accept the union's offer. I said. Twirling the glass of Saldom in my hand, the detective replied. My sin. It's going to be a little difficult. The girl who was my ally looked at him contemptuously. Ho. Yes, you are definitely not yourself. How can people who do not know each other's sins become allies? What kind of reckless bravery? Suddenly he took the tubes out of the glass and pointed at us. In return, I can share good information. At some point, we tensed up. But he continued. The number of people you have sent to hell is probably unambiguous, right? With these words, he took out a notebook from under his jacket. I sent 117 people. After these words, our faces expressed obvious surprise. 117. Both of us asked almost instantly. And it was so loud that most of the people in the cafe paid attention to us. I even had to apologize. Flipping through the notebook, the detective spoke. Under what circumstances exactly does the key work or does not work? At what distance can be used? How many people will be able to send at the same time? I learned all this in practice. The more test subjects, the more data obtained. In general, I think I don't need to explain. That's understandable enough. So, I will share this data with you. In return, in today's raid, take my side. We talked for a while. But I left with the detective's notebook. The detective was left sitting alone at the table. As soon as we left, his demon appeared. You said not to show up, so you quietly watched and waited. Hasn't too much been told to make an alliance, detective? You've done a lot of work to collect this data. But the detective didn't stop smiling. Haha. Don't worry, Gargamanga. In the notebook that they took away slightly modified important numerical data. At a critical moment, if they turn against me, I can safely open my mouth and swallow them. That evening, we were sitting on a playground not far from my house. I was watching the time on my phone. There are 3 hours and 22 minutes left before Gagaka puts out his address. But before that, it would be worth pumping teamwork. Hey, I'm curious about something. With these words, he turned to the girl. She answered immediately. Speak. Your tracking ability, can't you use it now? If we can find out Kagaki's location first, we can set up camp nearby before the others who join the raid later. She got up from the swing. So you don't know the mechanism of my ability at all? With these words, she took a wand and began to draw something on the ground. My ability is the separation of vision from the nearest goal I am pursuing. To put it simply, among all the creators of hells, I can only determine the position of the one closest to me. Meanwhile, I thought to myself. It turns out I was tracked down only because I was the closest. And now she can't use the ability, as it will be useless while I'm around. What about the reboot time? Once every 12 hours. 5 minutes. I thought I heard it. Once every 12 hours, yes. So she knows that I don't leave the house. In general, there is a possibility that she used her abilities once every 12 hours, moving from place to place. And maybe she hasn't come into direct contact with anyone yet. And after the situation with me, I think she became more careful. Then, putting my hand on her shoulder, I asked, how many other people have you managed to track down after all? You didn't tell me about it. The tension was clearly visible on the girl's face. Damn. This jerk is too smart. I didn't want to talk about it so that I would have the advantage in information. But he took care of me then. That situation I couldn't do anything. We need to return this debt. Who? She exhaled loudly. I managed to see 2 more. One was checked in upon arrival at the airport. The other was in the meeting room of a large QS company. That is, one of them is a foreigner, the second is from the management of a large company. Unfortunately, none of them looked in the mirror, so I didn't see their faces. I thought for a moment, and then we'll see how she blushes and says. I just didn't tell you because I didn't have confidence in you. It was not with the intention of destroying the union. So don't get me wrong. Thanks. Then in order to gain more trust, I will tell you about my partner's ability. Bahamurk's ability to smell death. She lets me know when I'm wearing a dead flag. This is a pretty useful ability that can even predict the future if used correctly. Putting her hand to her chin, she said. Not bad. It expands your possibilities of improvisation. And now we have to some extent sorted out the issues. And there are about 3 hours left before the raid. Then let's split up and rest. We'll meet next to the addresses when he publishes it. I'll take a picture of the notebook that the detective gave me and send it to you. Get acquainted before you start. I held out my fist to my ally and confidently said. Let's survive. You don't want to give an easy death to those who are locked up in your hell either. After my words, the girl thought. And my hell. Memories came flooding back to her. She's lying in her boyfriend's room, wrapped in a blanket. And he adjusts the camera on the phone. Why the camera? It's cool. Exciting. Just for the collection, no more. I really don't like this. But the guy didn't back down. Just once. You won't be able to do it even if I ask? The next day, Ho Min Jae was walking at school as usual. But suddenly she was called. Oh, that's the one. Hey, it was fun to watch. Her face just went numb. Hey, why are you telling me? Added a second one. I'd rather think about Young Jae. Then she came to her school locker. On which there were various kinds of inscriptions. Dirty whore. Die, you beast. Suffer. Leave. And then she remembered how this jerk begged her to spare him. Clasping his hands, he begged for mercy on his knees. Have mercy. I'm really sorry. He said this while looking at the girl who opened the gate. But she only answered. Late. This video has already spread everywhere. Our relationship broke up because of you. After that, this idiot was thrown into hell. And the girl returned to reality. Right. I can't let him die easily. He's bound to rot in my hell forever. Then she hit my fist with her own. And added. Go eat well for now, rest, gain strength. Hikikomori. Flipping through the notebook given to me by the detective, I found a lot of interesting things. In addition to interesting data, the most important thing was circled with a marker. When suddenly, the floor began to float, the figure of a Bahamurk appeared from it. He said with displeasure, almost with malice. Human. Can I stop hiding in the floor already? All my muscles and bones ache. Stop whining and get up, Bahamurk. Other creators can see demons. So if I keep dragging you along, they will be able to see and understand that I am also one of them. We need to be patient for our safety. As for the manifestation of yourself, let's do it only in a house where it's safe. I said all this while reading a notebook. But the demon was only discontentedly picky. Stretching, he said. You keep repeating about caution, but don't you trust Sadius's partner too much? He even told me about my abilities. In principle, it does not matter. After all, I lied about the most important thing. His sin. Besides, I need her for this raid. To make this battle more honest. My calculation turned out to be correct. Because another alliance was created just before the raid began. In the dark street stood the demon Ram, already familiar to us, as well as two more higher demons. The supreme demoness is a vampire, and the supreme demon is Gordon Kilius. The first one looked like a vampire, and the second one looked like an ogre. However, the form of this union was different from the union of Yom Seung Gi, in which the members of the union were on an equal footing. A familiar man in a white suit was sitting on a bench and flipping through a tablet, and two people were kneeling in front of him. The man in the white suit was Yoon Neung Han, the creator of the unknown hell. There was a strict hierarchy in his union. The two people sitting in front of him were none other than the other creators of hell. A guy in a white suit watched a video where a streamer already known to us announced the game. Two on a leash like dogs, and one holding them. Then the person looked at the pinned comment with the address. Finally he wrote down his address. It's time for us to move out. Hey pig. So he turned to the fat guy sitting on his knees in front of him. You said you have rights. So you're driving the car. With these words, he threw him the car keys. And you're a baby. You go first, do at least a warm-up. With these words, the man stood up and began to adjust his gloves. The girl did not expect such a turn. Bait? She almost shouted. Why me? Then the man in white held the key to hell right in front of her face. I mean, why? Because you're dumb as a cork, and your life is in my hands right now. Remember, you are my pawns. The man said with a grin. If you want to live at least one more day, do as I say. Stupid bastards. Suddenly the fat guy asked. But once we are done with this, will you really let us go? But the man just grinned. I'll let you go when you get smarter. So don't worry about it. After some time, they were already driving in the car to the designated address. The current number of participants is 7 people. Meanwhile, my allies and I met. The attack on Gagaka begins. We met in a dark alley. And the detective asked the first question. Well, have you read the notes that I gave you? I started first. Summarizing the main points of the notes. It is possible to send 5 people to hell at the same time. A larger number at a time will not work. After the gate opens, there is a delay of 1 minute. It is impossible to open them at this time. The maximum range at which the gate can suck a sinner is 10 meters. If you make a mistake by looking with the naked eye, this person does not go to hell. Is that right? Suddenly my partner interrupted me. You forgot something. Even if a person commits a sin, but the owner of the key does not recognize him as a sinner, he does not go to hell. In other words, the door is activated correctly only if two conditions are met. The target has committed a sin, and the owner of the key recognizes him as a sinner. The detective's face broke into a smile. Ha! Well, learned everything. So let's move on to our goals now. First, visual confirmation of the identity of the creators of hell. The second, ask for and notice hints to understand what the sins of others are. The third, to survive. Do not get hung up on reducing the number of participants. Suddenly the girl asked. Do we really not need to think about reducing the number? To which the detective immediately replied. The rules did not mention any reward for reducing the number of participants. That is, there is no need to take risks. However, if someone puts something on the line, let's just take it and eat it. After these words, the detective gave us on the radio. And these are my gifts for you. Let us know if there is something unusual or if you meet a person who you think is the creator of hell. Meanwhile, a car drove up to Gagaki's house. And a familiar person was already watching his apartment through binoculars. His companions were nervous. Are we really going to get there first? To begin with, as soon as we enter the building, we don't even know where an attack may come from. Wouldn't it be better to just wait for others to come and target the streamer first? The girl confirmed the guy's words. Right. I also asked earlier why we should be the first to enter. To which the boss of these two clicked his tongue irritably. We need to get rid of as many creators here as possible. Do you know that I've already sent one to hell? Sure. After all, they showed on the tablet what is happening inside hell. After which, the man in white raised his finger and said. I only found out about it after this old man was already there. Sending the creator to hell gives you an extra ability. The two people sitting opposite him were surprised. If this is true, it will be very useful to gain more additional skills first. Because the more any means the better for the game. I still hope to survive, the girl thought. At the same time, the guy was thinking. Great, if I catch at least one and get an additional ability, then I can escape from him, or at least we can become equal allies. And maybe I can even hope for a better future. Meanwhile, their boss was sitting behind a tablet and smiling. Those bastards. How easily they believed. It's like a fictitious carrot that facilitates submission. What idiots. If there was such an award, we would definitely have been told about it. His idea was simple. There is no need to get rid of this couple with your own hands. After all, when he defeated the first opponent, he asked his demon. Hey Ram. Isn't there any bonus for defeating one? Besides, among the others, it looks like I'm the first one who sent someone from the creators to hell. The demon continued to wipe his sweat and replied. There don't seem to be any additional rules of this kind. Well. So there's no need to kill them with your own hands. We need to rethink the strategy. Then I'll leave it to someone else to deal with these two. And thus I will get information about the hell of another person. After all, when he sends them to hell, he will certainly say his sin. Then based on the information, I will find this person's weakness and make him my next slave. I will continue this process until I and the last slave remain. And by killing him, I will become the ultimate winner. At that moment, he remembered that he was in the car with his slaves. Damn, you need to save face. Save face. Until I sent these two. So, this will make you more useful allies. Having said that, the boss took out the camera and handed it to them. If you understand everything, take the camera and go. Meanwhile, in the streamer's room. Gagaka was sitting in front of the monitor and watches all the entrances and exits. Suddenly, unbeknownst to him, a rope appeared outside the window. And a second later, the girl had already climbed into his room by opening the window. From such a gagak came to perplexity. What did you think they would come to you and ring the doorbell? I moved here from another apartment with the help of a fire rope idiot. Then she took out a key that was already activated. The demon is standing behind her exclaimed. Human. The keys are activated, finish with it. Hooray. If I can get an extra ability with this, then I can get rid of this jerk. Then she said loudly. Open the hell of vanity. Suddenly a red light filled the room and bats appeared out of nowhere. You were intoxicated with your abilities and told your address to the others yourself. Accept your sentence, lad. Then she turned the key and a huge bat appeared from the ceiling, its belly open like a gate. And from these gates, bone hands climbed straight towards Gagaki. It seemed he was already captured, however. As soon as the hands reached him and grabbed him, something happened. And they hurriedly let him go. The girl and the demoness were perplexed. What the hell? And then they looked at the key, which had already stopped glowing. What? It's just been activated. Why? Suddenly Gagaka said, grinning. You made a mistake with the object. Then he began to remove the skin from his face. And the girl stood wide-eyed. Right in front of her, the guy pulled off his face, and she saw a demon in front of her. Have a good road, he said. And while the girl was staring at the demon, the real Gagaka appeared from the closet. He opened the door a crack and pointed at them with an already activated key. Invasion Hell is activated. A moment later, a noose was already thrown on the girl's head. The gate that Gagaka opened threw several ropes in her direction and began to pull her towards him. The demoness stretched out her hand to her ward in the hope of saving her, but she was already doomed. On the threshold of death, memories came flooding back to the girl. I hated vanity. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. She used to dance until she broke a sweat. In between them, she looked at the idols on the phone and thought, how much more do I need to work as a simple intern to achieve them? But one day a producer came and said, so everyone's attention. He was standing holding a girl with blonde hair by the shoulder. It was decided that Julia would make her debut this time. I was shocked by what I heard. What? It seemed there was no stopping me. Wait. Why is Julia the first to make her debut? After all, we interned together. The producer just made a disgruntled face and said, this is a decision from above. Nothing can be done. Can't you just congratulate her without any showdown? Why start this? I was standing right in front of him, as if I had been doused with cold water. The next thing I remember, I was crying on the steps. But suddenly the same girl came up to me and handed me a handkerchief. Are you okay? I looked at the girl smiling at me. Still smiling, she said. You know, you were good at the audition. Or not. You've been interning for 7 years. Maybe you just don't have the talent. I fell into a stupor, but she wouldn't shut up. Bypassing me, leaving, she said. Do something else. And you're a little old for that already. Suddenly she turned around and laughed with her hand to her mouth. It might even be awkward to call you an idol. For as long as I can remember, those who had luck, talent or connections made their debuts. But this thing. I slept with the president, so I made my debut. That night a demon came to me. Those who think that this is their own ability and are vain of others must burn in hell. But it didn't work out with that person. I was desperately trying to turn the key and send him to hell. But nothing worked. How is it? Why is the key not responding? And then he leaned right over to me and said, a hell of vanity? Yes? So now you think that I treat you ingloriously? I just dropped it. President of a huge corporation. Elite. You can't help but be vain. His laughter even made his saliva fly out. Ha ha ha. Vanity is a feeling only for those stupid people who do not know how to independently determine who they are and what they are capable of. Wiping away tears of laughter, he said. And I have only reasonable confidence. I mean, I'm not vain. I thought I could survive even after I got into the use of this guy. Isn't that vanity? These were her last thoughts. The creator of Vanity Hell, An Yoon-hye, dropped out. The doors slammed shut with a creak, swallowing the girl. Looking at the creature sitting on the floor in complete helplessness, it was impossible to say that it was the highest demoness. Damn. After these words, her body evaporated, emitting a bright purple light. Pleased with the success of his operation, Gagaka rejoiced. I thought it was just a theory, but she really got caught. His demon seemed pleased too. Ha ha ha. Among other demons, my ability is nothing more than entertainment. It was your head that thought of using it like that, he said, pointing at the streamer. And then he pulled the Gagaki mask back on his head and said, we continue to send everyone to hell. After giving 5 to their man, they set the nets again. Meanwhile, our trio couldn't help but notice the bright light from Gagaki's room. I took out my walkie-talkie and reported. A flash of light just came from the window. Have you seen everything? My ally spoke first. She took up a position on the roof and watched. Yes. Most likely it was hell's doors. That means at least -1. I began to reason in my head. According to the detective's notes, there is a waiting time for the gate to reopen. That is, if someone in the building tries to open the gate again, he will not succeed in the next minute. Should I come in? A drop of sweat formed on my face. Will I be able to conduct a reconnaissance in 1 minute and get out safely? This question tormented me. But suddenly someone grabbed me by the shoulder. Scared to death, I turned around abruptly and saw the familiar face of the detective. He said calmly, "The probability of getting out in 1 minute with something decent is almost zero, kid." He's probably right. Then what should we do? Let me, the detective, know about it. Passing by, I saw a flash of light and heard a screaming woman inside the building. In the current situation it is. But I didn't finish because I understood the detective's plan. He's trying to break into Gagaki's house. Being the detective who received the message, whoever survived the opening of the gate wouldn't be able to send the detective to hell so easily. After all, if one of the employees disappears, then other police officers will descend and arrest him as a suspect. After thinking it all over, I asked, "Okay, then what should I and Ho Min Jae do?" "Don't let other creators go inside." "Leaving," the detective said. "And then I'll figure it out myself." When he left, I thought about it. The detective, as I thought, is not capable of anything, but he can make decisions faster than me in such situations. The reason why the operation was originally conceived as passive. We were waiting for someone to join the battle before us and give us the opportunity to intervene. Damn. I bit my finger between my teeth. We need to send the others to hell faster than they will do it to me. Meanwhile, in the car of the director of the corporation, one of the cameras on the tablet failed. But he just grinned. -1 chess piece. However, I found out what a sin this little streamer has. So nothing else matters. Throwing the tablet on the chair, he said. "It's time for me to make my move. 7th floor." Ding. The detective took the elevator and Gagaki's camera immediately spotted him. Ha. A new victim? 2 streamers of exactly the same appearance sat and watched the camera. It doesn't seem to be a tenant. The detective was approaching the apartment. Haha. The door is open, so he will come in. Play along with me. Gagaka reached into the closet, taking his position. And don't stutter. After these words, the closet door closed. And then there was a knock on the door. But then a phrase was uttered that they did not expect to hear. "This is the Sotoman District Police. A complaint has been received against you." Gagaka, sitting in the closet, thought. Complaint? And probably because of the screams and the light. How annoying. If I send this policeman to hell who came because of a complaint, I can catch us and send us to prison. And if I open up to him, we can stall for time until more creators of hell gather. Damn it. You'll have to open it. Going to the intercom, he pressed the microphone button. What was announced? The detective, showing his ID to the camera, calmly said. "Oh, nothing serious. A report was received that women's screams were heard from a neighboring house. Could we talk for a bit?" Meanwhile, I was standing guard at the entrance. The detective's phrase stuck in my head. Don't let the other creators of hell in. Easy to say. But in truth, if they can still get there before Gagaka is caught, I will have to stop them at any cost. Thinking about it, I picked up the walkie-talkie and asked. Ho Min Jae, where are you? On the roof of the opposite building. Why? It seems the detective went into the building. Is that good? Nothing happened? He came in to pick up Gagaka. Until then, we must carefully monitor the entrance and prevent other creators from entering. The girl grinned. Ha. You say to be more careful. Good. What should I do? When I heard this question, I said into the radio. You didn't use the tracking ability today, did you? Right? She replied. I've been with you all day, so there was no need to use it. Now use it. There was a slight pause. It seemed I struck her with this request. What? But then I'll see the same as you being on the other side. What's the point? After these words, she looked in my direction. I have one hypothesis.